Transit trap engaged. Jurisdiction is locked. You can't do this. It's done. Move.
Moving multi-ton shipments of illicit cargo across the Pacific requires serious logistics. Miles McKelvey never left New Zealand. His role in an alleged cocaine smuggling ring was strictly local. He handled the customs paperwork right here at home. But the shipping route included a brief layover. The container docked in Beaumont, Texas. Because the cargo physically entered American territorial waters, the United States government filed federal charges and demanded McKelvey be extradited to face them. When global supply chains overlap with local actions, a simple transit stopover can suddenly expose a local citizen to a foreign legal system. In May 2026, the Supreme Court of New Zealand handed down its final ruling on the matter. The case hinged on a legal standard called double criminality. For an extradition to proceed, the action has to be recognized as a crime in both the requesting nation and in New Zealand. McKelvey argued that since the cargo was merely passing through the U.S. and never cleared American customs, he didn't legally import anything into their country. The Supreme Court rejected that defense, pointing to New Zealand's Misuse of Drugs Act of 1975. This maps out the precedent. The moment a ship enters a port, even if just passing through, it legally counts as an importation. Because this definition satisfied both countries, the court ruled the United States has jurisdiction to claim him. The courts will no longer accept transit defenses. A citizen's ultimate fate now shifts from legal judgment to political calculus. With the legal appeals completely exhausted, the final decision to surrender McKelvey rests entirely on the desk of the Minister of Justice. That decision is driven by the 1970 Extradition Treaty between New Zealand and the United States. This document carries heavy diplomatic weight. It represents New Zealand's specific promise to act as a reliable partner in global law enforcement. Against that treaty is the Crown's domestic obligation of ore te tunga, the duty to protect its citizens from disproportionately harsh foreign penal systems. The minister has to weigh our domestic sovereignty directly against our obligations to international allies. We can map how the major political parties navigate this specific trade-off using an evaluation matrix. The National Party and New Zealand First take a strict approach, advocating for total historical adherence to the 1970 Extradition Treaty without exception. Their primary policy outcome is global security. They prioritize seamless intelligence cooperation with traditional geopolitical allies. The direct trade-off of this stance is accepting that New Zealand citizens will be fully exposed to the harsh realities of U.S. federal courts. The ACT Party operates on a slightly different policy framework, driven by the strict enforcement of the rule of law. They support extradition for severe trafficking, accepting the trade-off that domestic property and liberty rights might be subordinated to foreign legal interpretations. The center-right coalition prioritizes a secure global network over shielding domestic defendants from international judicial reach. The Labour Party takes a dual-focus approach, attempting to balance international rules with the built-in human rights clauses of the Extradition Act. This creates diplomatic ambiguity. Applying heavy domestic scrutiny to honor treaties often slows down the judicial process and frustrates international allies. The Green Party pushes for a legislative alternative to protect citizens, known as a forum bar. A forum bar is a legal mechanism that blocks an extradition entirely if the majority of the crime's logistics occurred inside New Zealand. This policy maximizes the domestic defendant's welfare, ensuring trials and sentencing happen entirely on local soil. But the international trade-off is a fractured relationship with our closest security partners. Utilizing a forum bar directly antagonizes the United States and risks breaching foundational treaties. The center-left prioritizes local jurisdiction and citizen protection, consciously accepting the cost of significant diplomatic strain. Because the courts validated the transit technicality in the McKelvey case, the citizen safety net is now purely political. This chart maps domestic sovereignty against international compliance and defendant rights against global security. To prevent NZ from becoming a syndicate haven, policy lands here, ensuring global cooperation. To protect Kiwis from disproportionate foreign laws, policy lands here. Jurisdiction remains domestic, regardless of allied pressure. Voters must now align their ballots with the trade-off they find most acceptable for the future of New Zealand justice. With the courts sidelined, the question of whether a citizen is surrendered or shielded moves into the cabinet room. The Minister of Justice's decision on Miles McKelvey defines the exact boundary between our domestic sovereignty and our international obligations.
If you never leave